Isn't the ketogenic diet and low carb diet essentially the same thing? How about Atkins and Paleo? Aren't all of these diets just a fancy way of saying keep your carbs low? Well, it's definitely safe to say that you are limiting your carb intake in all of these diet plans, but each plan calls for a slightly different approach to fat loss. Most ketogenic diets require you to keep your carbs under 30 grams a day, and the most carbs that I've ever seen on a keto plan was 50 grams a day. Usually this will account for 5% of your total daily intake. Then you would have somewhere between 75 to 80% of your calories coming from fat and 15 to 20% of your calories coming from protein. With ketogenic, it's clear that the carbs are very limited at only 5% per day, and the reason why carbs are so limited is because the ketogenic diet is trying to put you into ketosis. To sum it up simply, ketosis is a state in which you're going to burn more fat and produce ketone bodies in your liver for use as energy when carbohydrates are really low. Low carb diets, on the other hand, don't require an exact number of carbohydrates the way that keto does. Obviously, since it's a low carb diet, you wouldn't expect to have more than 20 to 30% of your calories coming from carbs, but even at 20%, it's a huge difference from the 5% that you get with keto. So with low carb, we can consider the exact number of carbs undefined, whereas with keto, that number is very defined with exact numerical values. What about Atkins? When taking a closer look at Atkins, you see that Atkins is different from keto and low carb as well. With Atkins, the general accepted split is 30% protein, 10% carbs, and 60% fat. Again, this is higher than the 5% that we see in keto, which keto dieters would not support because they would say that having a higher level of carbs would take you out of ketosis. But Atkins at certain points definitely puts you into ketosis. The plan takes you through 4 phases, and a lot of these phases match up with keto, almost identical in structure. In phase 1 of Atkins, you have to limit your total daily carb intake to only 20 grams per day. Now that's as low, if not lower, than any keto plan. Then you progress to phase 2, where you're still keeping carbs low, but you're adding in certain vegetables, berries, nuts, and seeds back into your diet. And then in phase 3, which you'll only start once you're about 10 pounds away from your weight loss goal, but once you've actually started phase 3, you start to add 10 grams of carbs to your diet every single week. And finally, in phase 4, you enter maintenance, which allows you to eat anywhere from 45 to 100 grams of carbs per day. Phase 1 and 2 sound just like the ketogenic diet, and I'm sure when you're in those 2 phases, you will be in a state of ketosis. But when you enter into phase 3 and phase 4, you're going to be moving more towards a general low-carb diet, which, as I've already mentioned, is very different from keto. Now, how about paleo? Where does paleo fit into in all of this? Well, paleo once again elicits fat loss by keeping the list of approved carbs short, but the paleo plan is different because it only allows foods that were believed to be eaten by our caveman ancestors. The best paleo macronutrient split, as defined by the Perfect Health Diet and paleoleap.com, is around 20% carbs, 65% fats, and 15% protein. Again, this is slightly different from what we've seen with the low carb and Atkins, but it's very different from keto. Even though paleo and keto are both low in carbohydrates, keto is significantly lower than paleo. Again, keto's only totaling around 5% of daily intake for carbs. The paleo diet is also very specific with what foods you can and cannot eat. Even though you can do this diet with regular produce, it's highly recommended that all of your meat products are grass-fed, wild-caught, and pasture-raised. You're allowed to eat any fresh vegetables except for potatoes and any nuts except for peanuts. Also, eggs, healthy oils like olive oil, and fresh fruit, especially berries, are allowed on this plan. Grains, bread, cereals, and any processed food, legumes, beans, and dairy are completely off the plan. Now, dairy is a big part of the ketogenic diet for many people. A lot of people get the massive amount of fat required on keto with options like cheese. And cheese would be forbidden on the paleo diet. But on paleo, you would actually be able to eat things like pumpkin, squash, and yams, which on keto would be almost impossible because you would easily exceed your 5% carb allowance. Most of these diets match up in their efforts to limit grains and processed foods, but not all of them have to be considered low-carb diets. it's clear that keto always calls for you to keep your carbs really low. However, with Atkins, your carbs can go all the way up to 100 grams in maintenance. And with Paleo, your diet doesn't even have to be low carb at all. Paleo is more focused on what food you're allowed to eat for good health. You can say that Paleo is more focused on food quality rather than Keto and Atkins, which are mostly focused on food quantity, especially carb quantity. When picking the right diet for yourself, think about which one allows you to eat the food groups that you enjoy the most. Also think about which one makes the most sense to you and which one you'll actually stick to the longest. A lot of people that start low carb dieting lately go straight for keto, and I want you guys to know that many people choose to not stay on the ketogenic diet forever because long-term ketosis has been associated with a number of factors, including thyroid and hormone imbalances, adrenal fatigue, and poor sleep quality. Some people do really well keeping their carbs really low, like the 5% outlined in keto. Other people feel really tired and weak keeping their carbs that low. This could be, of course, just one of the reasons why people develop the keto flu, which is pretty much just an adjustment period that does go away, but some people are a lot more affected by keeping their carbs so low, and they would do better with a diet higher in carbs. So, to figure out which one works best, it will take you some trial and error. Ketogenic, low carb, Atkins, and Paleo are all linked to weight loss and body fat reduction, and one is not definitively better than another one. You just have to find the one that works best for you, your food preferences, and your lifestyle. Keep in mind, you also don't have to follow one diet plan's rules to the T. You can adopt certain principles from each diet plan and create a plan that works best for you. As long as you understand the basic underlying principles of how each one of these plans work, you can construct your own plan easily. If you guys want to figure out exactly how many macros you need for your fat loss diet, visit my website, gravitytransformation.com. Over there, you guys will be able to use our macro calculator. It's super accurate, and you can calculate your macros based on the Paleo diet, Atkins diet, and Keto diet. So I really hope that this video has helped you guys out. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also click that bell icon so you can be notified when I release new tips and tricks. I'll see you guys soon.
Pump it.